Welcome back to the Press Club this Saturday evening. My guest, Homer Dimak. I'm Olbuski, in case you didn't know. And Homer, before our last break, we were looking at a combination of related issues, youth apathy, and you were making the point that youth apathy, we mustn't see it as just something that voter apathy amongst youth, that it's not just young people not wanting to vote. It's a reflection, because we always have at elections, a turnout is always between 50 and 60% of the electorate. So that would be at as much as 40% of the total electorate stays away. And there's a higher level of voter apathy among young people. But like you said, it's a reflection of the society within which we are. How do you feel about voter apathy? I've heard you say on air that young people are complaining that they're not hearing anything, they haven't heard anything from either of the parties today to encourage them to want to go listen to a political meeting. Tell us about that.
You see, the thing is, there are a number of young people coming out now who this election is going to be their first time, myself inclusive. It's going to be my first time that I'm allowed or able to vote. And I'm excited about that, because I understand the power of my vote. And I understand the power that, as a citizen of St. Lucia, not only a young person, the citizen of St. Lucia, that I can elect and select the person that runs the country for the next 5 years. But I think that we've been in a culture that we politicize everything, and it's my party, right or wrong. And that's been that way for quite a while. And a number of young people, though I think they're going away from that, the my party, right or wrong, or the chicken and rum votes, they do not want to participate in that. But as opposed to saying, hey, let me allow these people, or let me hold these people liable to what they're saying, or let me ask them about the things that I want to see happen, they're just taking a disinterest in it. They're like, yeah, these people are not ready, I'm not going to do it. And I think that is where they're going wrong. So as much as I agree, you should not be, okay, my mom, my dad voted for this party, so that's where I'm going to be too. And you need to actually take a vested interest. I'm voting for this person because they have
that person is better.
Yeah, they're better equipped to run the country. People are just saying no. But one of the things I'm telling you, I'm seeing that change slowly. And if a number of district youth and sports councils actually take an example of South Castries or Southeast Castries and what they're doing now, where they've invited their candidates and they're saying, hey, you need to sit down with me and let's talk about what I want to see from my constituency. If you see a number of district youth and sports councils doing that,
inviting the competing candidates to come and debate,
and not when they've been elected. No. When
during
they need your vote, that is when you need to call them in and say, hey, these are the issues that I'm worried about. This is what I want to hear you talk about. And not whether this person is not suited because they've done this and that and that. I want to know what you are going to do for my constituency.
And I think that, you know, that's a welcome view, because I have been, the Voice newspaper has been, there have been calls for us to take things to a higher level. Let's up our ante. Let's ensure that we can at least cleanse up the discussion and the debate. And you said something earlier that comes right into that, and that is, to what extent have young people understood that the technology at your fingertips, combined with your sense of innovation? You know, this is the first election I have seen young people come into the politics through the technology.
Right.
You mentioned earlier the guy who creatively does the animations. That is being done by many other young persons who have picked it up. So a politician says or does something on stage, tomorrow you could guarantee. The extent of the use of social media in campaigning, I'm coming home to you now. I have a close friend who has permanent access to the internet politics in Ancillary Canaries.
Okay.
And yeah, I have been following, for example, through a third party, the exchanges with the young lady. I can't remember, a young lady who is supposed to be interested in being a candidate. And when one looks at the exchanges between her and the people she's communicating with, and I follow it, and it's the first and only time I've been able to see someone who wants to be an MP, somebody who wants to be a representative, and I'm not talking about party here, I'm talking about a young person introducing the use of information and communication technology in the whole campaigning thing. To what extent do you see that as something that is either is it something that is happening generally that I'm not seeing and only seeing it in Ancillary and Canaries, or is it something that you think that Ancillary and Canaries can share with the rest of the country in terms of encouraging people, young and old, to use the social media to discuss political issues?
You know, before I answer that, you have to tell me why so many people interested in Ancillary Canaries, you know.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if you know that you're being said to have you're growing up to get ready to offer yourself as well, because you have the representative.
Did I say that?
No, that's,
Where did you say
I've heard that. I have heard that. I've heard from friends of mine who have a vested interest in your father, saying, you know, her father wanted to run once, you know, and he almost became the MP, so she got it from him.
You need to tell him in his own way, my father taught me to think for myself.
Right. And I think he'll be proud. He is proud of having done that. Yeah, but to what extent, going back to your thing, to what extent have young people recognized that the innovation, and the use of social, take for example, I was surprised to learn that, believe me, to learn that we have young people unemployed walking around town who could create apps. And I met a group and I said to them, they were telling me about, you know, they can't get a job and so on. I said, well, why don't you do something for yourself? Because this young fella goes to the Marigold Secondary School and he fixes phones. You bring any two old phones to him and he builds a new phone for you. And I was able to say to them, well, can you make an app? Say, of course. I say, well, can you make an app that will work for you and pay you? How I go do that, boss? I say, do an app on how to vote. Can you make an app for election day? He said, of course, boss. You just give everybody a phone and give them a code and tell them vote same time. And I sat there and I was, yeah, right. But I gave it some thought. And he said, well, and you know, he said to me, he said, boss man, that's so easy. By election day, by the time the people vote, within 5 minutes, you know if you have a job or not.
I like that. I like that.
But then I watch BBC's debates. The BBC has have regular debates, Intelligence Squared and such debates, and they do have that technology. They say to the 500 or 1,000 people in there, now is voting time. You know, when we say go press your red or your green button, and as soon as it does, the results
that is
appear
exactly what I'm thinking. Electronic voting is something that has already been established in a number of entities, a number of countries. They actually practice electronic voting. But going to your question of utilizing social media and utilizing the technology
and the
innovation to get people interested in voting in the electoral process, and not only that, employment. I think to a certain extent the ICT Center has recognized that, and through CASIP they've provided a number of training programs for young people. But what I think it is that a number of people see that as a hobby, and they do it because they think it's so cool, and they want to tamper and understand the works of technology. But they have not understood how I can make this work for me, and how I can make money from that, and how, you know, with the development of that skill, the development, just some training, that they could go really, really far. I don't think
But don't you think that it is because of our, again, the societal attitude, employment versus unemployment?
Right, and I need to work in a bank, and I need to work for somebody,
I
and
need to be employed.
I need to
Somebody
be
has to
employed,
be paying
as
me.
opposed to I need to find myself a job. The business of working for yourself and
Being self-employed.
entrepreneurship, I think it's a scary venture.
Why? Look at the selfie guy. Mr. Selfie, the guy who discovered that, you know, with a little stick to have the camera facing you, you could do so much. I mean, this guy is dying rich.
There are people who are entrepreneurs, and they take risks. And there are other people, I think, that need to recognize that. And it's something that we can probably talk about a little later, though.
Okay, we're due for a break, and we'll be right back to continue our interesting discussion with Homer G. Mack, co-host of Bon Après-midi, St. Lucie, Good Afternoon, St. Lucia, on WVent on a daily basis from 2 to 6. We'll be right back.